All right. But as I was saying, the song um New Chains Same Shackles is supposed to be like
Mm.
about like having the ability or like wanting to better yourself and help yourself and all that, but you don't, which kind of hits deep for
Yeah,
me.
yeah. And I mean that's the thing with like sort of like being down and like depression sort of thing, I suppose, is that like they talk about how like you say they want to help themselves, but like it's just they sort of have no energy and sort of no sort of meaning to. And it's
Yeah.
sort of like it's obvious Ruby was very passionate in that song because that was probably one of the first songs of theirs that I had listened to where he went like all out on his vocals and just like was like singing basically, yeah,
Yeah.
properly. Um, along with like tracks on their Grey Sheep album, like Broken, right at the end and stuff, where he properly makes it known like what he's saying, like and sings it out. Yeah.
Yeah. Um but anyways, moving on to a different topic since we've pretty much discussed that one as much as we can.
Yep.
What is it like in the UK?
Well, it's very. It's like it feels a lot bigger than it is in a way because like I recognize that like if you were to like compare it to a state in the US, like it's probably like half the size, maybe even smaller than that, and like I think the population is like what's it, 66 odd million or something like that. But like when you're there, you sort of you feel it's a lot bigger than it actually is because like you know like a 3 hour car drive is still like a 3 hour car drive, and like you sort of it's like you're almost encompassed around this one island, and it's you recognize that, like say the US, for example, is like massive, and like people could drive hundreds and hundreds of miles. Um, but like being a resident of the UK and like basically only traveling around the UK in a sort of a vehicle like a car, um, it feels a lot bigger than it actually is. Um, culture-wise, it's like quite odd because obviously, because of its size, literally you could be like every like 20 miles, 10, 20 miles, there's a different, like, almost like a different sort of maybe accent or something like that. You know, for example, like I live down in the countryside where it's sort of like there's more fields and stuff. Everyone has like a thicker accent and like things are done differently completely, even though not even 100 miles down west, you've got London where completely different city, buildings everywhere, different sights, smells, sounds. Like people have completely different accents. Just like pretty much most things are different, apart from the fact you speak the same language. You know,
Yeah.
um, and in a way that is quite because it's quite a dense packed into one area, but there's still like loads of accents up everywhere. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, but is that like it in the US and states and stuff? Is there
Um
like multiple accents in states, sort of like?
yeah, yeah, there is, but it's mainly like when you come here, you're gonna find a variety of accents, languages, and all that. But that's because like everybody comes to the U.S. and there's like tons of different like
Yeah.
races, people from different areas of the U.S. and stuff. Like people in the countryside. If you've watched like any cartoons or any like anything that's country with the U.S., you'll hear that like thick country, like
Mm.
that thick, or anybody that's from the country of the U.S., like the countries areas of the U.S., the southern,
Yeah.
you'll hear that like country twang in their voice, that like accent, and
Yeah.
uh and with the country it's completely different than in the city. As you said, in the city it's not really that different. It's just sometimes people might have a hard time understanding you if you have that thick country accent,
Yeah.
that thick southern accent. But we that's really the only difference, unless they don't speak the same language as you, and well, not the only difference, but the like language wise and stuff.
Yeah.
But it's sort of the same with like how in like South Carolina, it's like a decently sized, not like big, but not quite the smallest one. But
Yeah.
it's got a different bunch of people with different accents around here. But it's not as like I want to say as cramped as the UK is the way you're saying making it sound like.
Yeah.
I've never been
Yeah.
there,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
but like you'll like drive for like maybe a few hours or so, and if you're still in South Carolina, you'll most likely be hearing like a different accent or two along the way, like people talking with different slang, different like it all depends on where they came up from, like how old they are and like the area that they're living at the time. But slang is like different almost everywhere in the US. But there's like some
Mm.
common slang, like the most common ones you'll hear is like Riz, all that, all those meme ones and stuff. But like
Yeah.
with but the Southerners are way different from Northerners. Up north, it's
Mm.
typically colder. Down
Yeah.
south, it's typically hotter and more humid. Like I went up to Tennessee one time. It was decent. It was like pretty decent weather.
Yeah.
It kind of had like its ups and downs with the temperature in one day, but it was still
Yeah.
pretty decent because there wasn't no humidity. There wasn't, and they had like there wasn't as much fog as there would be in like South Carolina. But in
Yeah.
South Carolina, when you come down here, like going straight from Tennessee down to South Carolina, if you've never been in like a humid area before, like ours, every time you go outside during like the summer or something, you're gonna like come inside feeling all sticky and like sweaty and sometimes and sometimes a little wet.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I
And
mean,
then,
like,
but it really just depends what state you're in and what areas are around and like the type of people, all that.
yeah. I mean, of course, because US is huge especially compared to the UK. I mean, I don't know how many times you can fit the UK into the US, but probably loads. Like, so I can see how like the north, nearer up towards like Canada and up towards the north would be a lot colder, and just because of the vast size, obviously, like you say, the south would be more humid than that. Whereas, like, in a way, it's sort of similar with the UK. I mean, like right up to the top, it's Scotland. Up north, it's like raining and cold, and like pretty much most of the time is similar in the like right down in the south, but maybe like a little bit less angry sometimes. Like it will still be like raining a decent bit, but like up north Scotland, like it'll just be like hammering down all the time and stuff. Like
Yeah.
um,
Um.
so it's
On. Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt.
yeah, that's all right. Um, yeah, so I mean, like there is like weather changes down from right to the south to right to the north, but obviously, as it seems, not as like severe as like the US, just because of its like vast size, I suppose.
Yeah. I have a quick question about like the UK and their laws. Like, what's going on with their like gun control? Because I keep seeing like hearing things like they don't really have guns as common as they do in America. Because like America, almost everywhere you go, except for California, you'll almost every household will have at least one gun, and
Yeah, so
like they're
I'm
more
pretty
commonly
sure with
used.
guns,
But like, what's it like in
yeah,
the
you
UK with all
have
that?
you have to have a reason to have one. So you can't just like buy a gun and just own one. Like you have to have a legal reason. So, for example, farmers are allowed to have shotguns, because of like certain birds or etc. and like protecting their sort of land from certain animals and stuff that are legal to kill. Um, but you have to have like a license to have a. You basically have to have a reason, and it's got to be a good reason. So, I don't know pretty much anyone that owns like a firearm, like a pistol or anything like that. I know a couple of people that own shotguns, but that's because they're farmers and they sort of you know, have that sort of ability to do that. But it's very, very strict. Like it would be rare to even like see a gun in person unless you went to like a shooting range do like clay pigeon shooting or skeet type sort of thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, very strict.
Around
Yeah,
here, it's very common to see guns like even on a person. We now have open carry, which is like even if you had like a pistol on your hip, you don't have to have it like concealed under your shirt or anything. You could just like have it out on your hip, like you could be walking through
yeah,
Walmart with a pistol on your hip. Now, I
yeah.
think, and well, it's not gonna be seen often because a lot of people still don't do it. But apparently, there's
Mm,
open carry laws and stuff around here now, so you could just like openly carry like a pistol, things like that,
yeah,
which goes to show how common and how openly used guns are in the U.S. because it used to be like concealed
yeah.
carry and you'd have to have it in a case, all that. But like you can't just like
Mm.
open carry in like an airport, stuff like that. Obviously,
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know what your out your country, like say like your airport security going through is like, but I mean,
we're allowed to bring
definitely
in
over the past
guns.
few years. Yeah, I think definitely over the past like decade or so, airport security, especially going out the UK, has become a lot stricter, and it takes a lot longer to go through. Like you'll be patted down, you'll be going through these like new machines that like scan your body and like things like that.
Yeah, it's
Um,
we have a like semi strict sort of like that, but
mm,
you're allowed to bring guns on planes. They're just not allowed to be loaded. You have to tell the people up front that you have a weapon. The case is locked and it is unloaded. And they'll
yeah.
put like tags and
So
stuff on it, and they'll like alerts like security and all that you do have a firearm and you're bringing it onto the plane, but it's like locked in a case and all that. Like
yeah,
they will know that you have a firearm, but you will be able to bring it on if you follow the right rules.
yeah. So with coming out the UK, and I'm pretty sure back in the UK as well, your firearms on board or anything like that is just completely like disallowed. Like when you go in to the airport, I'm pretty sure there's like where you sort of put your baggage in and stuff. I'm not even sure if you're allowed it in your suitcase. I'm not sure. Um, but if so, you have to declare it. Like you have to, like you say, sort of like what you said. You'd have to say that you have it and like put it through customs, like sort of declare it. Um, but like getting a gun from country to country out the UK is sort of like they'll probably be skeptical of it as well because they'll be like, well, do you have a good reason to have it anyway? Um, so yeah, in terms of like anything to do with guns with the UK, it's like extremely strict. Yeah.
I do have a question about like the good reason. Would like
Hmm.
self defense be a good reason to have a gun, to like own a gun and stuff?
Yeah, but it's sort of like a knock-on effect because then if one person has a gun for self-defense, then the next person will, and then it's the same thing with knives. I mean, like the problem with knives in UK, especially down in like London, is the kids will hold a knife for self-defense, but because people go out and assume other people have knives, they'll have a knife, and it's like it's just a domino effect of people just carrying knives all the time. Like obviously, UK has been terrible for like knife crimes, because of the fact that that's probably if you don't have a firearm, that's probably the closest like the thing like that's also sort of accessible. Um, the laws on buying knives, I'm pretty sure it's 18 of like like proper knives. Um, um, but yeah, I mean, there's not a lot of like, especially in the countryside, there's not a massive problem at all with like knife crimes or any crimes like that, any sort of like life-threatening crimes. But there's been plenty of times like I think like a story from the other day, some kid went to like go grab went into like a food store or something like that to get some food, and just three kind of kids just jumped on him, just started stabbing him like for no reason. Like
Dang.
so in terms of like yeah, it could be quite bad, but in terms of like that's how like the UK is more like based upon knife crime and like trying to stop that.
Sort of
Um,
like how we
but
have like
that's
stereotypes around here with gun crimes, like Chicago,
ex-
oh,
exactly
all
yeah,
that
yeah,
being like like known for like gun violence for like gang violence and mainly involving guns and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
kind of
exactly.
like the same
Yeah,
thing here, but just with knives over there instead of guns.
yeah, basically, yeah. The self-defense part of it is what makes like kids carry around, but it's not too bad of a problem in where around I live down the countryside because it's like I say, it's quite a bit different to like up in London stuff, but
Yeah, around
yeah,
here you won't really see people. They could just be concealed carrying it, but where I live is, I live near what we've nicked. What I'm not sure if you have the same terminology for it, like the same slang for it, but it's called the hood, which is basically
yeah,
like a not like a not safe area of a neighborhood and stuff.
yeah, yeah,
It's basically a neighborhood that's like not safe, like violence, all that. I live like maybe 30-ish minutes away from one, and my school, well, no, not
yeah.
even 30 minutes, like maybe 10 minutes away, because what there's like two hoods right next to my school, and
Mm,
there have been a couple times where there was like supposedly a drive by near the school in one of the in there, people like circling with the school with a gun, all that. And
mm,
since I live that close, sometimes usually when I go out on a walk, I'll carry at least like one of my knives with me, mainly because
mm,
I'm too young to be like open carrying a firearm like that.
yeah,
I'm too young to. I can still like, the police won't care around here where I live. Won't care if you're like younger than 21 and you're like, or 18, whatever, to and like operating a firearm, like holding one, shooting one, stuff like that. But if you're like walking around with it openly around the neighborhood, that when you're not on your property and you're not
mm,
hunting, you'll most likely get in
mm,
trouble, or they like say, or you'll get a warning from the police to not do it again. So depends on like if they care to do it.
yeah,
And
yeah,
nothing's really happened to me with like people threatening me and stuff like that or anything like that. It's just I like it makes me feel better whenever I'm on my walks, in case like anything, like a dog tries to bite me, or like stuff like that.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think culture. I mean, it's not too bad. Like I think now, especially when knife crimes were start to come through like a lot with UK. Um, the kids were just like sort of like relentless. Like they'd be like in London constantly threatening. It would be like constant like because it was just easy access. Like and it was an easy threat and like just like say they'd stab you for example and like um that's why there was like so many was because like you could just walk up to someone and just like do it. I mean um
Just
and
like
because it
walk up
was
to them and
like
just like that. Just
yeah, but usually it has like it just does happen for no reason. There's like sort of a mean behind it, but like the kids just don't think like it's like just because they insulted you, you don't have to stab them. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
The culture around here is very diverse, and I'm talking about like culture just in general. In the U.S., it's just like very diverse because usually when you every few households, there'll be people like that are have different religions, different cultures, different holidays, which is the good thing about the US, that it's very diverse, because so then you can get like a scope of like everything.
yeah,
Like there's some people that I'm friends with that are from the hood, or that still live in there, and there's friends that I have that are like very like smart and sophisticated, that come from good neighborhoods, and I'm sort
yeah,
of like in the middle of that, so I can get like a good view of like both, which is a
yeah,
good part about like the diversity of everything we have with like people, cultures, and all
mm,
that, where we have with what we have in the US.
yeah.
What's the culture like,
Uh,
diversity with culture and stuff in the UK?
I mean, you can like I mean like I was saying before. I mean like because it's so like compact and dense. It's like almost like every 10-20 miles you go like every 20-minute drive, there's different people, different accents, that sort of maybe do slightly different things. And then as you go further towards the cities, like the Midlands, and sort of down in the south, then and going to sort of city area, you can have multiple different accents, but it's more like you got people that maybe like you say, you got like the hood sort of area where it's a bit more aggressive. You got like but then when you sort of travel a couple miles down, there's like nicer people. But then even in the same areas, there's like um, London, there's really nice people, and then there's people that are sort of like sort of don't want to mess with and sort of talk to a lot. Um, uh, and that could be diverse in itself, just in that one city, which is like relatively small compared to like say somewhere in the US. But yeah, I mean, pretty diverse compared for the fact it's like compact into relatively small island.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have I have another question about the UK. Do you get many?
Yeah.
Do you well, to your knowledge, are there many like tourists often in the UK?
Like tours of the sort of like
Like
around the
people
country or
from
just like around
people that are from like different countries and stuff, like going like and visiting and then like leaving, like those types of tours.
yeah. So I mean, down in the countryside, there's very little. I mean, I've occasionally seen like maybe a few people in my lifetime, but like in terms of, like the big places like Birmingham, Edinburgh up in Scotland, London, all like the big cities and big areas, it's quite common to see like a variety of people. Um, some African Americans. You got people that are sort of coming down from Asia, um, and there is like that sort of diverse. There isn't just like
Just
it's
British.
Caucasians, just yeah, and like just British people. There's you got um a variety of people, but it's especially the cities and stuff um where it's more populated and sort of more well known. But down the countryside, there's a bit less of that. It's
Yeah.
rarely ever
Um,
sort of tourists, I'd say.
South Carolina has been nicknamed one of like the tourist centrals for America. I could be wrong in
Mm.
that, but which is why I'm saying one of them, one of the tourist centrals,
Yeah,
because of like how much we have to do in South Carolina alone, because of how large it is.
yeah,
Like Conway has is where you'll find a bunch of like a actual Conway is sort of like a more older, like old timey type area
mm.
to keep its history, because there's like a 1990s like esque theater design. Well, I want to say
Yeah,
1990s. It could be like prior to 1990s, but like 1900 style theater. It still operates as like a
yeah,
normal movie theater now, like a modern one, but it's like got the style of the older ones.
yeah,
And Myrtle Beach is totally different, because Myrtle Beach is mainly where the tourists go because of how much there is to do, like museums. I'm not sure if you've heard of it, but there's a thing called Ripley's Aquarium, which is like this huge aquarium that we have down in Myrtle Beach. There's
oh
a
yeah,
and
yeah,
we have like a bunch of arcades, the Upside Down House or Wonderworks, whatever you want to call it. We have
yeah,
the Fun Warehouse is in Myrtle Beach, if I remember correctly. We have a bunch of different like activities down in Myrtle Beach, and there's like a bunch of
yeah,
different shops that sell different things and like different styles and stuff. And there's like different food places that serve different types of food, different like food from different like countries and stuff like that. It Myrtle Beach is like the place to go if you're a tourist, if you want to have like the most fun and see the most diversity, to my knowledge, about like with I'm not sure about the entire US, but I know South Carolina, Myrtle Beach is where you want to go for like diversity, fun, all that.
yeah,
And
yeah,
usually it's kind of hard to tell if you're when you're just passing by, but to my knowledge I'm pretty sure there still are a decent bit of tourists still like down in Myrtle Beach, and I'm pretty sure when summer gets back like people are getting out of school and stuff, there's going to be a lot more in Myrtle Beach.
yeah, yeah. I mean, obviously, depends on the time of year too, I suppose. You know,
Yeah.
yeah.
But since you're a furry, what made you want to be a furry? Like, what made it seem like compelling and stuff?
Okay. So I mean, like, ooh, uh, I mean, for years now, I've sort of like had a sort of like a sort of thing in the back of my head that I sort of didn't have a negative opinion on them. Sort of like um neutral, because like, obviously like the general sort of population was like um going like, oh, in the UK, I'm sure it's the same in America,
Yeah,
and like they're
furries are
just
like
known as like bad.
yeah,
They're
furries
just
aren't
known as
technically known
like,
as bad per se, but they're more known as like weird people.
yeah, like stay away from type people. Yeah, because only like the bad weird stuff gets put out into like the general population. So but I was sort of neutral of it, but I think I was sort of influenced by that general sort of society to not look into it or anything like that. And then probably about a year ago, I was like, okay, uh, I joined sort of like downloaded VR Check because one of my friends had it, and it was literally just we just like messed around for a bit. There wasn't anything there, but I still had the app installed. And then a couple of months later, I sort of went on and then realized that it was like very central basically. And then
Yeah,
I
that's
was like, okay,
basically what it
cool.
was a few like it for a decent while.
Yeah.
VR chat was seen as a weird place, as a weird thing because of like it was like dominated by furries pretty much for a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. So I joined the furry hideout sort of world. And I basically went in and thought, I'll see what it's like. And then sort of like I was expecting it, but I wasn't like because obviously society sort of like brainwashed you. But everyone there's just like normal people just enjoying their day and even just just sort of expressing themselves in that sort of way. I sort of did that every few days for like a month. I used to just go in and just chat to people and like make friends and stuff. And then I bought a VR headset. And then went on VR chat. And then I sort of put on my first sort of avatar, like properly in VR, because obviously it's a lot different in VR than like a PC screen.
PC, yeah.
It's a lot more realistic ish sort of thing. And then I sort of like was looking around and I was like, yeah, this is like it's sort of like you feel more like
Open in a way, like
you
you
and
can
you can
yeah.
express yourself. You can express yourself like more and like you feel not better, like saying like I don't like myself sort of thing. Like you feel like almost like different and like you've got your own different persona and like you talk to people and you're known as um like what you want to like you want to express yourself in a certain way. You can just wear certain avies. Um, you got plenty of avatars, this, that, and the other. Eventually, I just started making friends on here, and I was like, like, yeah, I'll like admit it to myself. At that point, I was like, yeah, I am one. And this was also around the time where I was like, sort of like, same sort of thing. I was sort of like, because of society in the back of my mind, I was putting it away. For years, I was like debating whether I was bi or not. And then like from 6 months back, I think it was around 6 months back. What? Um, I think around 6 months back was when I sort of dated someone that actually came from my school, and I found out he sort of did a similar thing with like VR chat and things like that. And that was at the point where I was like I've got a boyfriend, And I was like, I just accepted it to myself, sort of thing. Then now, I mean, I sort of I'm expressive and I'm happy with myself more than I have been before. I don't think of it as sort of a bad thing, and I'm not I'm relatively proud to be one. Yeah.
Nice. I could kind of say the same thing. It was for me. I was like with the bi thing. I was like I knew like had that feeling, but like but I was raised to like not be gay. Like it's not like be rude or anything to gay people or like to like dislike them or anything, but like to
Yeah.
not be gay per se.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
like with me being bi, the whole like I was denying it for a decent time, and
Yeah.
then I
Yeah.
was just like, you know what, I'ma just push through it and just accept it. I'ma accept myself as being bi, and now
Yeah.
and I don't really have that like I feel like I'm a little bit like happier with myself now that since I've
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
fully recognized myself, like me as my own person, like fully recognized myself that I am bi.
Yeah.
And I've never really had a boyfriend per se, but
Yeah.
there's people that I've found, there's like guys that I have found attractive,
Yeah.
which was, and I always like, before I just fully accepted it, I was like, why am I thinking things like this? I shouldn't be, yada yada, all
Mm.
that stuff. But then I realized, oh, I might just be bi.
Yeah.
Because I
Yeah.
still found women attractive, but like there were some people.
Yeah. I mean, especially nowadays, it's quite a big mental battle with that sort of thing, you know. Like for it seems you as well and me, it took years of like trying to like debate with yourself, like, and just sort of putting it to the back of your mind, that sort of thing, because it's like society is so like against it almost. Like it's better now, it's sort of less against it, but it's still almost like even subconsciously frowned upon. Like if you told everybody you know now, you were bi or you were gay, like maybe most people may sort of accept that, but they would also subconsciously treat you different almost in a way. And those are the sorts of like reasons you sort of push it away and like don't want to think about it. It's that sort of thing. But then I realized I was like, yeah, I'm like more unhappy denying it than I am like
Accepting
accepting it at this point. It's just tiring, not.
it.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but I gotta replace my battery on my right controller real quick. So
Sorry.
I'm gonna do that real quick. I'm gonna just take the whole battery pack so I don't have to constantly get no. But sorry, as you're saying.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, accepting it is it's quite.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
I gotta go
haven't.
see my way.
Yeah, I haven't really come out to many people, and
Mm.
I've only come out to like close friends. So, and like even when I even come out to them, I feel that they haven't really treated me differently because they don't really care. They're the same age as me, so they won't really care. Sure,
Yeah.
they'll joke around and be like, "Be quiet, you're gay," stuff like that, but they won't really like have any actual malicious intent behind it.
Yeah.
But they'll
Exactly.
just
Yeah.
like
Exactly. Yeah.
joke around about it, and
Mm.
sometimes I don't want like them to just like say it around the wrong people and have the people hear it, and then like it gets spread all around that I'm bi.
Mm.
Because most of the gay kids in my school are the weird kids, are grouped into the weird kids,
Mm.
which is why I keep it hidden from most people.
Yeah. Yeah. Um. Well, I've got to go now. So
All right. Well,
if you want, you can send me the recordings and I'll edit them.
that's gonna be the end of this episode, guys. Keep
Right.
tuned for more.
See ya.
See ya.